everybody, thank you for joining me today. So today's video is part of the scrapbooking with me weekend challenge. Every weekend there's a different challenge, and this one it's this sketch that I got from Pinterest, and we're going to hop right on in, and I will have a picture-in-picture of the sketch as we go along. So I'm using a kit from my stash because as soon as I saw the hearts and everything, I knew exactly which pattern paper I wanted to use. So I'm just going to say, because it's not from scrapbooking with me, it's just from my stash. Okay, so I'm taking some basil marshmallow, which we did get in a kit. I want to say it was like either April or March's kit. And I'm just taking some clear gesso and I'm going over the entire paper. I want to make sure, in case anywhere that I'm going to be doing some of my mixed media, that it's covered, so that way it doesn't react weird on the actual cardstock. And now I'm just cleaning up some of that clear gesso off my glass mat, and I'm bringing it back. And initially, when I bring it back, I can see there's a couple of spots that I need to get again. So I will do that after I go through my stencils here. And I found the one I wanted to use, which was this cluster of hearts, and I'm using some crackle paste. We got that actually in a kit last year sometime. I want to say it was around this time last year. And some of it had dried up, but I was able to get some of it in the bottom to go ahead and spread around. And you can use any type of embossing paste. You know, they have light paste, they have modeling paste, they got so many different kinds. Whatever you have in your stash would work. Okay, now this particular crackle paste is very interesting because it makes a lot of tiny cracks, and if you can let it dry on its own, you get a much different texture than when you force it to dry, which is unfortunately what I had to do. So I'm showing you these palettes that I've gotten recently, and they're really cool to use because it's basically like having a little mixing plate. You know, it's plastic, it's really clean, easy cleanup, I should say. And you'll see here, I'm taking some of these Lindy's magical powders that I have in my stash, and I'm going to create a purple with the pink here and this blue. And I'm going to do that by just spraying a little bit of water and then taking my brush and then mixing the two together. And it's funny because on the camera itself, it looks more bluish than purple, but in real life, it really did look purple on my palette. And then I'm just taking it and spreading it around in this upper corner because the main area where we're gonna do a lot of the building, I wanted it to be yellow, but then up at the top, I had some yellow hearts I wanted to use, and I wanted to have it just have a little bit like a different color in that section. So I'm just cleaning off my mat, and it's really simple and easy. I'm just going to spray a little bit of cleaner and make sure I get any extra powder off of it, so that way it's ready for my next project. And then for the yellow that I'm using, this is a flat yellow, so there's no shimmer on it, but I'm just going to sprinkle it around all over in the one section. And you can see here, I'm just kind of laying down, making sure, you know, that it's going to look okay with the heart I want to use. And as I was starting to move around some of the yellow, I realized I still had purple on my brush, and it was turning actually the yellow a little greenish, like it was on the verge of mudding, but thankfully I caught it, and then I just sprayed it with some more water, and then I'm using a clean brush to kind of move everything else around. And you can add more powder, you can take powder away, you know, take it like I'm doing by dabbing it with the paper towels. You can let it be stronger in some areas. I just want it so that there would be a nice little area, kind of, you know, soft all over, kind of combining with the purple. You have to be careful because yellow and purple do make brown. Okay, so if you do too much mixing where I have it over there in that corner, it could get really muddy and it'll be really ugly. So I'm just pressing and making sure areas are, you know, drying up, and then I'm laying stuff down, trying to make sure everything is still going to pan out right. And I saw I had a little bit of yellow somehow got all the way up there, and I was going to put 3 hearts, but you'll see I'm going to wind up only doing 2, and that little smudgy area, I'm not going to sweat it. So all I'm doing is laying out my pattern of hearts, and I actually fussy cut all these hearts out of a paper that was a part of a collection that I have. It was all these really pretty hearts, and it was kind of rainbow in color. So I cut out the purple row, and the row is actually orange and yellow, but I just cut out the yellow row. So it's yellow, and then it has some of the like kind of neutral colors, because I'm trying to keep everything in this purple and yellow theme because of the shirts that they're wearing in the photos. And this is my mom and a friend of ours from church. They were in like a selfie like portrait studio thing that they had created at church one weekend last year. And so I've actually scrapped this before, but when I saw the purples and yellows, I was like, you know what, I gotta do it again. So I think one I did in black and white, and then this one I'm doing in color. So once I have the hearts in the order that I want, I'm going to move them to the side. And now I'm kind of straighten out bend the paper the opposite way to kind of help it lay flatter. I do know that like some of the girls that I watch on YouTube, a lot of them will let it dry overnight, you know, sit some heavy packs of paper on top of them. I don't always have time for that. Literally, like I did this, was it yesterday? Yeah. By the time you're watching it, this will be a couple of days since I've made it. And like I make it, I do the video, I'm putting it on my computer, and I'm trying to get this voiced over and ready for you guys. Like there's really, unfortunately, not a whole lot of time for me in that sense. But you know, I'm proud of myself that I'm more consistent than I ever thought I would have been with when I put my videos up. Doing them 3 times a week, it can be difficult at times. So for the photo, I did trim it down and put it on top of a 4x6 card. And so there's a border of yellow behind the actual photo, and then I took one that had some light purple and put it at the top and the bottom on the right and left side. And then I'm adding some fun foam to the back to give it a little bit of lift. And then I'm laying back out the hearts here, trying to figure out exactly how I want to do it. And I know that I want the yellow hearts to lay flat, and I'm going to make the purple hearts up on top of foam. So this is fun foam that I'm cutting into little pieces. And then on some of the hearts, I just put a little bit of glue in the center. So if it does lift up a little bit on the ends, I don't mind. It almost gives it a little bit of dimension without it being on the foam. And then we're going to go ahead and attach that one. Now on this one here, I decided to put more glue all around, which is fine. And then for the purple on the bottom, I moved it further down so I could put some of the strips, the little sentiment strips. I'm going to put to follow the sketch itself. And I don't have a sewing machine that I use for crafting. Actually, I had to get rid of my sewing machine years ago. So that's the only reason why I don't stitch my stuff. I do like the look of it and the way that, you know, other people do it. And even in this sketch itself, I really liked how it looked like they were stitch lines through the hearts. By all means, go for it. If you have the equipment and can do it, have at it. I didn't want to hand stitch this whole thing, so that's why I was like, you know what, I'm going to leave the stitching out of it and just have a ball. I'm going to place the hearts similar to the way that they have it, and then I'm going to go slightly off the rails because you'll see I start adding a lot of stuff as far as sentiment strips. Like I couldn't help myself. 2 or 3 wasn't enough. So let's get to the good stuff, right? So I'm finishing up doing my hearts, and I'm going to move that other one that had the little piece off on the side up to the top left. And I took one of those pieces and brought them down so that way it wouldn't look weird just being a part of an heart sticking in the middle somewhere. You know what I mean? Like I like it to make sense. Like the one on the side here, the purple one where it was just a little bit, it was on the edge of the paper. I'm putting it to the edge of the paper. So it looks like part of it was, you know, like it was born to be that way. And then I put this one with a little bit over the edge so that way I can trim it, and then you can see there it's all trimmed and it looks natural. So now after everything is laid down, I got the 2 hearts up in the upper left. I'm ready to start laying out some of my pieces. And if you ever notice on some of mine, I don't press down really hard with anything, and I try to wait to do all the gluing until I'm sure everything's is going to be where it stays. So I'm just laying out So Much Fun. And initially when I look at this, when I was putting it together, I liked the fun in this silver font, but as I was going along, I was like, it's not standing out the way that I wanted it to. So you'll see here in a little bit, I do wind up switching that out for something else. But that's pretty much all I'm doing, is kind of going through and figuring out exactly what pieces I want to use from the chipboard pieces that they have here. And I'm using the cameras, which is something I don't really use all that much. So here I'm looking through the small talk words from Tim Holtz to also use those for some of my little sentiments. So I've come back after I've picked out all my sentiments, because let me tell you, it takes a minute. There's a lot in that little booklet. And I'm coming back with this glittery foam thicker for the word fun. And I really thought in the black that this was the better way to go, because the fun to me really stands out, and I can still use the so much and it still goes, you know what I mean? It still works. And I like, because I'm using that lined paper, it made it easier to line up my title. So for up here in the upper top left, I'm gonna play around here with some of the wording strips, and some you'll see I'll lay down just straight to the project. Some I do use some foam tape. It just depends on where I'm laying it down. And I think I wind up adding one more up in the top left before this is all over. Yep, I just grabbed another one. There we go. And I'm just putting it right underneath the heart. All right, so now we're going to work on this cluster, this little cluster here. And these are the ones where I have a little bit, I guess, not more fun, but I just get all these little tiny strips of foam to put on the back of the sticker. And I'm letting parts of it stick to the actual photo. And then trying to do it in different layers. So like the white is a little bit more in because it's on her hair, but I didn't really want the black end to be all over her face. I want it more on the edge, like on the paper edge. So I move it out some so it's sticking out. And then this one, I kind of do the same thing with this sentiment strip. And I get the fun foam with the adhesive on the back because it all depends on what I'm using it for. But like on the stickers, I put the non-sticky side down on the sticker part and then took off the backing. And then I had a sticker, you know, to put down on the pattern paper or wherever I was sticking it. And I was going to put this bigger one down using just the art glitter glue. But because of the embossing paste that we used, it worked better using the fun foam behind it as well. It just secures better. And I always use a little bit of the art glitter glue because it gives it just that more strong adhesion. Yeah, so I like to use both. I know it probably seems like a lot and probably like overkill, but I'd rather do that and know that it's not going to just pop off of my project. All right, and we're just adding down more of our pieces. Now over here, most of these I want to say I do just glue down. I think on the one I did lift up, but the other ones I left flat. And then we're going to attach the Say Cheese and the bigger camera. Some of the ephemera pieces I had that went with this particular collection I'm using, they were so big, and I was like, is this gonna work? Is it not gonna work? And I was like, you know what? I gotta use it on this one, because at this point in my life, I find if I don't just use it, if this is the opportunity, if I can work it in, I gotta get it. Because it's not something that I normally use, you know what I mean? I don't do a lot of layouts with cameras on it and that kind of stuff. So I was like, well, I know they were in a photo booth, so it was like they were doing a selfie. I'm like, this is perfect. So I put in 2 smaller ones, the super big one, and then a lot of the sentiments were about, you know, Say Cheese and, you know, taking the photos and stuff like that. So I figured it worked. And then I'm adding some of these puffy stickers, some on some of the hearts, the center of the camera, and I put a few more kind of all around. And the whole time I'm trying to, what's the word, like kind of keep it in the same color palette, without adding in too many other colors. Like on one of the cameras, I think it's a pink and a green, but it's so small, they're so small, it really doesn't stand out. The purple and the yellow is still very dominant, so that's why I didn't like freak out or panic. And then anything else I added was either black and white. I think I added one like craft one, which is like the @ symbol over here on the left. And I put that over by one of the craft looking hearts, so it works. And then just a few more kind of around. I wanted to use more on this kind of like a chipboard pieces, but it didn't really work out that way. So on this one, I'm adding a few more of these hearts, kind of like enamel dots that I have in my stash. I just wanted to add a few more of the yellow, because on this particular one it has no purple. So I just did the yellows. And then I knew at the end I was going to probably be doing some purple splatters. So that's why I wasn't like overly worried about it. And then there was a few of these small paper hearts that I cut out, the yellow and the purple. So I put those around as well. And now I'm just going to cover up my photo with some craft paper. And I'm going to use my... what do I use? Oh, I used my white picket fence first, the stress spray, not the stain, the spray, and the white picket fence. And then I grabbed some of the Heidi Swapp Color Shine in the gold. And then I'm also going to grab, I think it's an Inklings. I should have it over here. Actually, it's a Creamies. It's Purple Peony. I probably said it wrong, but I'm just spraying it with a little bit of some water. And then once I get it moving, I'm going to put some on one of my clear blocks and then go around and splatter with it. So I have the white, gold, and the purple kind of all over. And if you haven't been watching my videos and you're just starting, or you've been under a rock, I love splatter. I can't help myself. It's almost like a layout is not complete unless I have splatter. And I go through these phases. It used to be sequins for me. Had to be on everything. Oh my God. Sequins, sequins, sequins. But now I'm really digging the splatters. It's just something about it. And it can be scary, but I say dive on in. Just go for it. Because when you're done, you're like, yeah, I like that. All right, you guys, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you liked this sketch. I find them to be a lot of fun, and they allow you to create and not overthink, because you can still change it up. It's always a nice foundation, and then you can go about changing or adding, and when you're done, you still have a really wonderful layout. So all the links to Scrapbooking with Me will be down below for the Facebook page, the group, and the website. If you go there and shop on scrapbookingwithme.com, just use my coupon code TT15 to get an extra 15% discount on anything that's not already marked down. Thanks again, you guys, and I hope you have a great day.